and welcome to Getting to Good Enough, a podcast to help you let go of perfectionism so you can do more of what you love. I'm Shannon Wilkinson, a life coach in Portland, Oregon. I'm a recovering perfectionist who's getting better at good enough.
And I'm Janine Adams, a certified professional organizer in St. Louis, Missouri, and I'm lucky enough to be naturally good at good enough.
And today we're talking to Christine Platt, the Afrominimalist.
Hey Shannon, how are you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I am great. I'm so excited that we have this wonderful guest.
I know. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about her?
Oh, okay. So we are privileged to have Christine Platt with us. She is a modern-day Renaissance woman, also known as the Afrominimalist. She holds a BA in Africana Studies, an MA in African American Studies, and a JD in General Law. She's an award-winning author of over 24 literary works, and her most recent book is The Afro-Minimalist's Guide to Living with Less. It's a radical re-envisioning of minimalism that focuses on authenticity over aesthetics. Wow!
Welcome, Christine.
Thank you for having me. How are you all doing?
We're great.
Happy
That's
to
quite
be
a
here.
resume you have there.
Yeah, it's always funny when I hear people say it aloud. I'm like, is that me? That is me. I did it.
You did it.
I did it. Yeah, no, this is wonderful. So happy to be here in conversation with you all.
Well, it's great to have you. And, you know, our focus here is on perfectionism. And the first thing I have to ask is, how much does perfectionism get in your way? I mean, it seems to me, having accomplished so much, there can't be a lot of perfectionism, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, no, I think much like you, I'm my recovering perfectionist. And I think, as anyone who has found themselves in that space, like it's very easy to get burnout. And I think at a certain point, you realize like there's no one way to do everything well, right?
Right.
So, and I think what really sort of made that shift for me was motherhood. I think I was pretty intense until I became a mom, and then, spent maybe like those first few months trying to still, maybe even the first year, like trying to, and I was just like, this is unsustainable.
Right.
And this is not going to work out. Right. And just started, living more of my truth, which is, I don't always have it all together. I try and have it together as much as I can, right? And I'm okay with that, right?
Yeah,
and,
that's all good enough, right?
Yeah, it's good enough. Yeah. So, no perfectionism over here.
Well,
Good for
great.
you. Yeah, that's excellent. This is Janine talking, and I don't struggle too much with perfectionism, and I feel just so fortunate that that's not part of my wiring, because I feel like I'm able to get to glide through life a little more happily and have fewer frustrations.
Yeah. And I think people too, like I remember, during my perfectionist years, just being very, I would say I was upset at the time at people who weren't, but, in retrospect, you realize you were actually jealous, right? Like I wished that I could have just been a little more lax and a little more lenient, right? And ironically, that is the child that I was blessed with. And so, yes, I spent 18 years learning those lessons, right? And I think that there is a lot of freedom. There's a lot less stress. There's because it's just, again, it's unsustainable. I was talking to a writer the other night, and I said, okay, we're texting back and forth, and I'm like, okay, I'm getting ready to go to bed. And they're like, oh, not me. I still have hours ahead of me. And I was like, yeah, I remember that being me. And then realizing like, I'm never going to catch up. right? There's no
Yeah.
catching up. There is no, ever getting to that point where, and then like, what does that even look like? Right? Like you have friends that get caught up, I guess, as much as they can be. And they're like, it just feels weird having nothing to do, right? Like, it's like, there's no way again to just be in this space where like if you stay up all night or try, like there's always going to be something. And I said, I've learned to I have to just cut it off at like 10 or 11, and whatever didn't get done will get done the next day, and it works well for me.
I'm with you 100%. Well, and what pops into my mind while you were speaking was that struggle, right, of trying to get more and more done and be more productive or what have you. And when you embraced a minimalist life, a journey, did you find that things just got easier because you had less stuff that you're wrangling?
Yeah. I mean, I talk to people about that all the time, in terms of, people who are perfectionists, people who are easily overwhelmed with clutter and certain things, right? Like it was just good for my mental health. As much as I am not necessarily a perfectionist in like all areas of my life, it's very important for me. And my space is not always as neat and tidy as I'd like it to be, but like it there has to be a certain order before I can even like focus on what I need to do that day. For people who find themselves in that space, like my daughter can work in clutter. It is nothing, right? For me, I'm like, I cannot even think looking at your desk, let alone if I was sitting there, right? And so
knowing that desk is in the house.
Close your door so I don't see it, right? I think people that find themselves in that space that, having a minimalist lifestyle or lifestyle with less, if people find that term minimalism too limiting, having some order and structure, those things are very, very helpful to us. And so, I have found this lifestyle to be very conducive to helping me be more efficient and helping me, be as productive as I can with the time that I have, because I'm not so focused on the clutter. I'm not spending more time cleaning or trying to get things organized, right? So it has been very beneficial and helpful for me, for sure.
Right. And I imagine too that, when you have more stuff, you spend time, looking for things and it eats up so much energy.
It does. It's so funny. I love that you mentioned that, because every now and then and I'm using the air quotes here, I lose something, right? And I find myself like, oh my God, where did I put it? And then I just have to stop and laugh. And I'm like, listen, there's literally only so many places it can be. It's going to show up, right? Like even that has helped me, right? It's like, where are my glasses? And it's like, you're in 630 square feet. Yeah. There are only 2 or 3 surfaces, right? Like just go look and then go look in your bed. Maybe like, like it's helped me, because I remember just being like panicked that I couldn't find this, or where's that shirt, or where's this? And it's like all of those things just cut down on time and stress and unnecessary angst.
Particularly in the clothing closet, if you ask me. I really enjoyed in your book where you described your process for letting go of clothes that don't serve you anymore. And I, as well, I try to have few clothes. I've been whittling my clothes down a lot. And so I totally appreciate how much easier my life is now that I know everything in my closet goes together, and there's not that much there. And I when I read, I'm a professional organizer, so when I was reading your book and you suggested inventorying all your clothes as a first step, my first thought was, no way. Like, my clients wouldn't do this. First of all, they're not going to pay me to inventory the clothes, but whatever. But then I thought, okay, Janine, but what about you? You can inventory your clothes. And I had actually recently decluttered my clothes, so, but I had replenished a little bit. So I thought, I'm going to do it. And so I did it over the weekend. And I will say that I was surprised at how many clothes I have when I added it all up. I was really surprised. I mean, I'm still okay with it, because I can. It's not that it's not I don't have any trouble storing it or finding any of it in my closet. But wow. I thought, I thought I had 7 dresses and a couple of pairs of pants. Yeah, I have 7 dresses, but I have a lot of other stuff too.
Yeah, isn't it amazing? I think, that inventorying step for me was just so profound. It's like, especially someone who has a lot. I mean, I had a lot of clothing, like a lot of clothing. But saying a lot and then like seeing the number was just very much made me like, oh, I need to do something about this, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, I'm like, I have a lot of jeans. And it's like, oh, actually you have over 50 pairs of jeans, even though you wear the same 2, right? Like it's so, and you realize like how you can, I don't want to say waste time, but how you can spend time in the morning, like searching, looking, right? And it's like, oh my goodness,
I definitely call it wasting time because I'll just stand and I'm not even actively doing anything. I'll just stand in my closet and it's like I'm waiting for something to pop out at me.
Yeah,
or something
magical. You're like, magic outfit appear, right?
Yeah.
I think too, the other thing doing inventory showed me was how much I don't wear. Right. And also what I wear that works for me. Right. So one of the things that I discovered was, you know what? I have a lot of tops and bottoms that I don't wear. And that was like my first discovery of like acknowledging I don't really like pairing things. I prefer a dress or a jumpsuit, something that is easy because I already have just so many decisions and things to focus on in life. And the idea of having to also think about and choose what is going to pair and go well together. It's just not how I want to spend my time and energy, right? And so that helped me going forward because I would always, I'd go to one of my favorite stores and I'd be like, oh my gosh, what a cute top. And now I know like I just have to acknowledge a cute top is a cute top and keep it moving because I am not a person who really likes to pair tops and bottoms, right? So all of these things kind of help you when you do an inventory, like really see the extent of your belongings, really be able to see your areas of overconsumption, right? Really be able to see the things that you're not wearing, but you may have an affinity towards, but I was like, I remember being like, why do I have so many jeans? And it was because that there was a local Goodwill that was amazing. I won't even say the name because then I don't want any of your listeners to go over there and find themselves in the space. But they would just have like all these designer jeans for like $10. And it's like, how do I pass up designer jeans for $10? Right. And I realized like, oh, I am really, really, there's something here. Right. Like I am really attached to, the thrill of the hunt of finding these jeans, not necessarily wearing them, but the thrill of getting this deal, the thrill of getting a pair of, $90 jeans, $200 jeans for $10. Right. And so I had to stop going over there.
Well, it's interesting that sort of parallels what we started talking about when you were talking about time and like you just had to draw a line with your time. It's like, I'm just going to bed at 10 or 11 or whatever, and like it'll get done the next day. And it's like, it sounds like in so many areas you created, sort of a boundary or a space that you were comfortable with and let the rest go.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And it has, I talk all the time about less being liberating and really wanting people to understand that liberation manifests in so many different ways, right? And I have all these like little epiphanies where I'm like, this is so liberating, right? Because, like that is putting those boundaries in place and, setting mantras for yourself, all of these different things. Like it just is so liberating. I was sharing with someone the other day how, once the book came out, like there's all these features and articles and all these things about my living space. And no matter how neatly organized it is, whenever there's a photo shoot, right? Like I just do like this whole deep clean, and then, on top of COVID and everything, right? And, I have other things to do, right? Like manage the Anti-Racism Center, work on all these other books. And I remember I had a photo shoot coming up, and I was like, oh, I'm going to have to do this deep clean. And then I was like, actually, this is going to be really therapeutic because it only takes me 2 hours to deep clean my entire house. You know what I mean?
Wow, that's amazing.
That is so liberating. And again, if you're someone who is a, recovering perfectionist or still finding yourself in that space or really like things organized, neat, and clean, there's also something very therapeutic about cleaning. And I'm sure that's, when you only have to clean for 2 hours and not 10 hours.
Right.
Right. And so it's also very therapeutic. But yeah, like all of these things, the fact that I could deep clean my house in 2 hours is so liberating and so wonderful, because I remember spending weekends. Right. And I talk about that in the book. Yeah. Like, oh man, am I really going to do this? Or should I just go buy some more bins should I go buy some more things to hide the things? Right.
Well, and there's something that feels almost magical about the idea that like you can touch every space and thing in your house essentially in 2 hours. Like, so it's like you're keeping this connection, this energetic connection to your stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just appreciate, like I have full on appreciation and love and joy for everything that I have. Right. And I didn't have that before because I had so much stuff. It's hard to focus on what I did love. Right.
Sure.
It was very easy for me to see what I didn't love, and no longer needed. Right. And we forget, because I feel like, so much of life, and this is like a shift in mindset, we are very much focused on loss aversion, right? We're always focused on more of what are we losing rather than what are we gaining, and what this sort of lifestyle, and as I continue to enhance my practice and focus on my practice and just change certain things and re-examine certain things, I realize just how liberating it can be, because my focus is so different than what it was before, right? And I am a big advocate for anyone who, a lot of people find the word minimalism to be very limiting, or it evokes certain emotions of scarcity, lack, if that is your case, remove that word from your vocabulary and find a word or a phrase that works best for you. It's why I say the book is the guide to living with less, right? For some people, a better word is simplicity. Whatever word can make it work for you, but to think about really almost sort of curating your home and your wardrobe to be the space that you need it to be, and eliminating everything else. And you really will be able to truly enjoy the things that bring you joy and happiness, right? And not be so focused on those things that don't, right? And not be so focused on, well, if I get rid of this, right? Like you'll be so focused on what's going to happen when I let it go. People are so focused on what they're losing, and I want people to focus more on what they're gaining. Right. Yeah, with this practice.
Yes. And it's certainly not limited to wardrobe, right? I mean, it's true of decorative items, of sentimental items.
Yeah.
I often advise clients who are hanging on to sentimental items, an abundance of them, that if they were able to select the ones they really enjoy and love, they're going to appreciate them more.
Absolutely.
They'll be able to display them or what have you. Yeah. It's a remarkable thing. And your book, I think, does just a lovely job of explaining the transition you went through, or the journey that you've gone through, and in a very gentle way that certainly resonated with me and made me want to take action. And I suspect it will be that way for a lot of people, or is that way for a lot of people, because now it feels, okay, now I got it already, but I really could say, now I get why it's worthwhile going through this. And then the first step of acknowledging that why you are where you are with your stuff, understanding why you've accumulated so much. I mean, that's huge.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's also interesting to let people know, because I share this a lot. I'm like, I'm still letting go. And they're like, oh, really? And I'm like, yeah, right? Like there's number one, we have to remove this pressure from ourselves, right? That it has to be done in a weekend or it has to be done in this amount of time, right? Mm-hmm. And that also goes back to when people ask, like, is there anything that you miss? And I'm like, no, because I took my time letting go, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. And yeah, also remembering that we are growing and evolving every day. So like there are things that worked for me a few seasons ago that no longer work. So yeah, it's a Absolutely. Constant work in progress,
Yeah. Well, it really becomes a way of life as opposed to a project that you did or that you're going to do.
Yeah. I mean, it is, I tell people, it's a way of life. It is the mindset, right? It becomes just sort of a way for us to live with intention, right? I always tell people I really feel like minimalism is the gateway to living with intention. That's how I feel. It's like a trick. Because there's no way that you can just be intentional with your wardrobe or, with your home decor. Like that intentionality ultimately ends up trickling into every area of your life, which is pretty magical too,
Definitely. Well, that's one of the things that I just found so wonderful and unique in your book is that, I think, as you were saying a minute ago with minimalism, people see it as a particular aesthetic and that you're striving to reach a specific thing. And you talk much more about making it, authentic for you.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I think like, imagine a cookie cutter version of minimalism, right? We can just even use Afrominimalism, right? Let's say if I was like, everyone has to have this Afro-minimalist aesthetic or you are not a true minimalist, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, this is not going to work for a lot of people, right? Even the way that my home was organized and the home decor that I had and the things that I had laid out, like it changed from when my daughter was a tween, when I started this process, to when she was a teen, to now as an empty nest, right? So what my version of living with less looks like now, there's no way it would work for a family of 5. You see what I'm saying? So like it has to be authentic to your family dynamics, to the things that bring you joy, right? And it's not to say that, hey, look, if the whole Scandinavian design works for you, have at it, right? But if you do that and you start to feel like, oh man, this doesn't feel like home, right? For me, it felt very sterile. I think it's also important to understand why, that is a Scandinavian design style is because of, the limited number of light that they receive at certain times of the year, right? Like it's like there's a reason that they use light colors and fabrics and keep things uniform and have certain layers and textures, right? And, here we are, trying to, incorporate this element into a living space and time zone that doesn't even need that, right? It also makes me think about Marie Kondo. I remember her getting a lot of flack saying like, oh, you only need to, you should only have 20 books. And people were like, 20 books, that's insane, right? And it's like, well, actually the area, where she developed her philosophy is very humid, right? And books do not do well in that particular environment and climate, right? And people were just like, I could never, and so it's like, you gotta just take bits and pieces that work for you. I have KonMari'd my closet many times. I have also discovered parts of that don't work for me, right? Like I do not have dressers and drawers because I'm one of those individuals that a dresser and drawer for me, that is anything that can hide something. It is it is a storage facility. I don't care what you call it, right? Like you can call it a dresser, you can call it a basket with a lid. It is a storage facility for me, right? And so when I went through my belongings, I very quickly discovered that I had a lot of stuff hidden and tucked away out of sight, right? And so for that reason, her folding method, it is beautiful. It is magical. Like every other mom, I look at those images and I'm like, that is so amazing, right? But like that would never work for me in practice because there's no need for me to fold things, right? So you almost like you have to curate and create your own minimalist practice that is going to work well, again, for your family dynamic, your needs, what brings you joy. And having an authentic practice, I feel like, is the only way to maintain a minimalist lifestyle or lifestyle with less. It has to be focused on your specific needs.
I agree 100%. In that concept of, the combination of authenticity and intention are just together so powerful. Right, that really resonated with me in your book, and somehow the sort of cookie cutter approach to minimalism that I seem to have perceived just didn't feel right to me. Even though I embrace living with less, I never call myself a minimalist, but I have plenty of stuff. But and my stuff is authentic to me. Pretty much.
Yeah. And I think even too, like when you think of your clients, right, this idea that you have to be intentional, not only with what you buy, but also what you allow and accept into your space. Because that's another, people say like, oh, I decluttered and I got more stuff. I decluttered and I got more stuff, right? It's like, we got to talk about the psychology of ownership here. You have to understand the why behind your purchases, why you have motivations, why you're attached to certain things. But you also have to learn to say no, right? There were a lot of things that I found during my decluttering that I realized were things that I accepted from well-meaning loved ones, right? And I have learned how to politely decline things or to accept things and say like, hey, if I take this and it doesn't work in the space, are you okay with me regifting it, or would you rather take it back? Right? If this doesn't work, would you rather me donate it and find a home for it, or would you rather me return it to you? Right? Or flat out saying like, this was so thoughtful, thank you so much, but unfortunately, like, it just does not work with my space, or I know I'm not going to wear it, right? And what ends up happening is over time, people who love you and who care about you, they are going to, one day you'll just get a text that says like, hey, I was in this store and I came across X, but before I buy it, let me show you a picture. And I'm like, yes, we have made it. I was waiting for this text, right? Now you are understanding and respecting my boundaries, because that's really what that is, right? It's setting boundaries and saying, I am being very intentional about what I allow and accept into my life. And there are people it's going to take, especially I feel like moms, close friends, right? Like it takes them a minute.
Right.
But, ultimately they will get it. And if they love you, they will respect that. And no one wants to overburden anyone, right? I've also found it helpful to have recommendations for folks, right? So I may recommend like, hey, I love gifts that disappear, right? You need some recommendations, right? Like incense, cookies, like there's, because really what it comes from is people feeling like, I want a way to honor and celebrate you. And we have been taught in our society that the way to do that is through gifting, but there are so many other ways. I share in the book how one of the best gifts that I ever received was actually someone donating a cow in my honor through Heifer International. And I got to know the village that it was going to, how it would impact this one particular family. I mean, it was just so fascinating. And I was like, this is amazing. Like, I didn't need another thing, right? And so
Right.
getting creative with gift giving and giving folks, just some options to work through, I think is always helpful as well.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, it's so important. Well, I feel like we could talk to you all afternoon, Christine, but
I know.
I know you have other things that you need to get to this afternoon. So can you share with our listeners where they can find you online?
Sure. You can find me online at theafrominimalist.com. And then I'm also very active on Instagram, right? Again, being very intentional. I learned like I can't spread myself thin across all these platforms, right? So the community that where I have just the most engagement and I feel like we grow and learn together is on Instagram. My handle is Afrominimalist. And I respond to, my comments, my DMs, right? Because there are a lot of times things that people don't want to ask or post publicly, and I understand that. I do a lot of podcasts and author talks, and I try and get this message out as much as possible. And everything is listed on my website, and you could also email me. That's how you can find me. But this is great. I felt like I was talking to two girlfriends. I feel like I could also talk to you all afternoon. This is wonderful. Any last questions? I'm happy to answer.
I'm just wondering if you have any sort of closing advice for people who are dealing with perfectionism, like how to get started in this journey of living with less.
Yeah, I mean, I think I have so many tips.
Yeah.
I think, really being easy on yourself and extending yourself some grace is so important.
Mm-hmm.
Forgiving yourself, a lot of perfectionism behaviors are rooted in our childhood, expectations that were placed on us, our family dynamics. I know for me, it stemmed from my brother just being, he just was so much trouble that I felt like I cannot add any extra trouble, right? And so just always trying to be the good kid, right? And make things easier for my parents, that sort of, continued through adulthood, right? So I think also trying to get to the root causes of where that perfectionism started. And if it was in childhood, kind of nurturing that inner child and talking to that inner child. And understand that, it's a process, right? Like no one just wakes up one morning and is like, I am no longer a perfectionist. Done, right? It's like...
I feel like I'll always be in recovery.
Yeah, right? It's just like this serious recovery mode. And that's where extending yourself some grace and forgiving yourself in those moments that you still find yourself resorting to those habits and behaviors. It's okay. But you sort of have to tackle it head on and acknowledge that this is where you are, and take steps to sort of do things differently. And maybe it's starting in one area of your life, right? I am no longer going to be a perfectionist with how I, manage things in the office. I am no longer going to be a perfectionist with my closet, with my kitchen, with my, you know what I mean? And just
Right.
like slowly, implementing, just some of those habits and behaviors into other areas of your life over time,
Right.
Right. So I think those will be like all of my foremost tips. Right?
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
You are so welcome. Thank you all for
pleasure.
having me.
Yeah, thank you. Such a pleasure.
Thank you.
And we would like to hear from you, our listeners. Are you embarking on a living with less journey? You can let us know on Facebook or Instagram at Getting to Good Enough. On Twitter, we're at GTG Enough. You can leave a message at 413-424-GTGE. That's 4843. Or you can head over to gettingtogoodenough.com and leave a message in the show notes. But for now, this is Shannon Wilkinson in Portland, Oregon.
And Janine Adams in St. Louis, Missouri.
And we hope that good enough is getting easier for you. I have to reread that book. It's so good.
Yeah. You're going to buy it for your husband, right?
I am.